think it's the first time I've ever seen this. The seals were so bad on this cylinder that it was filling up with rainwater. That is mostly water. Crazy. I'm working on this old Case 580C backhoe. It's been sitting outside unused for many years, which is really hard on a machine like this. It's got all the typical problems: leaking cylinders, bad hoses, needs all the fluids changed. Some of the linkages are pretty sloppy. Anyway, I wasn't going to make a video about it because it's not really that interesting, but I ran into a problem that I've never run into before. That is the boom cylinder, and the rod, the piston, is stuck in the barrel. So I can unthread the gland and it slides freely, but I cannot pull the rod out of the barrel. I chained it to the bucket here and the other end to the log skidder and hooked up the chain fall. Couldn't pull it out. I also tried compressed air under the piston. That didn't do anything. So I don't know. We could try hooking it back up to the hydraulics, but if I start this thing up, it's going to spew oil everywhere. I mean, more than it already has, because I've got a bunch of stuff unhooked. So we're going to try giving it a little bit more of a tug. That'll work. That'll work nicely. Still tight. Oh. It wasn't stuck too bad. There we go. Jeez. There we go. Well, we gotta be getting pretty close to the end. What do you think? How is it so tight? We gotta be at the end. Good Lord. I don't know if that thing's coming off there. Oh, there it is. Just about to tip the press. Holy crap, that thing's tight. Okay. The loader cylinder glands have wear bands, which is good, but there's a lot of corrosion underneath the wear bands, which is a problem. So here's what happened. This is the design of the gland. There's a wiper here, then the wear ring, and then the seals at the bottom. This is kind of backwards of how it would normally be done. Normally the wear ring would be on the inside where the oil is. I don't know why they did it this way. The wiper is just there to keep the big chunks out. It's not really a seal. So, water can come down in here and get behind that wear band, cause corrosion, and then tighten that up on the cylinder rod. It's kind of a crappy design. So I got to clean that out. And the other fun surprise, this is the piston out of one of the loader cylinders. And this is the piston out of the other. They are completely different designs. This one uses a chevron V-pack. This one uses a square seal. So I don't know if they replaced the whole cylinder at some point or replaced the piston. Either way, somebody's been here, and yeah, I was not expecting that. So I had to order some extra parts. The flap wheel was unable to chisel through that rust, so I ran them through the blast cabinet. This one's, I guess, not too bad. At least down here where the seal is pretty smooth. It's pitted here where the wear band goes, but I don't think that'll hurt anything. This one, on the other hand, boy, it's not very good where the seal rides. Now, the only good thing is, way down here, where the actual sealing part of the seal is, that seems to still be good. This gland, and maybe both of these loader cylinder glands, really should be replaced. I don't know. I guess we'll try it, and hopefully we get away with it. If it starts leaking again, we're gonna have to throw some more parts at it. Everything's cleaned up, inspected. It all looks good. I don't know exactly why that rod was stuck in the barrel. I think it's probably just because of the design of the seals. It has those V seals that kind of stick going one way. They're kind of like ratchet teeth. Plus, there's a lot of water in the oil. But I looked inside the barrel. It looks fine. I think we're in good shape. I get two common questions about rebuilding cylinders. The first one is, can I do it myself? And then if so, where do I get parts? So I think it's probably easier to talk about the cylinders that you can't do yourself. There's kind of a Goldilocks range. So for me, it would be cylinders that are really old. Kind of by the 1960s, things were pretty well standardized. But before that, it was sort of the Wild West. There were odd sizes, and they used a lot of weird leather seals and stuff that you just can't run out and buy. You can still rebuild them, but you got to modify them to use modern seals. So you need some machine tools and some skills. I don't like doing cylinders that are too big. These are probably about as big as what I would want to do. You get too big, you got to have big tools, and you got to have equipment to move the cylinders around. The other thing is a lot of newer machines run at really high pressures. These cylinders run at maybe 3,000 psi, but a lot of stuff now is 6,500 on up to like 8,000 psi. And that means that the seals are more complicated, they're a lot more expensive, and they're a lot more difficult to get apart and get back together. The other thing that's kind of a showstopper is if there's mechanical damage to the cylinder. Rod damage isn't too big of a deal. I can make new rods, and then I've also had good luck straightening them. People will tell you you can't do it, but I do it all the time, and I've never had an issue. Making new eyes, that's not a big deal. But if you have a damaged barrel, that's kind of a showstopper. Typically it requires welding, and then after welding, they have to be honed, and I just don't have any way to do that. Making new glands, that can get pretty tedious, but it can be done. There are some cylinders that, in my opinion, just should not be rebuilt. So the one I'm thinking of in particular is the multi-stage telescoping cylinders that you find on dump trucks. My brother ran into this. You can get the seals, you can install them, but those cylinders don't have chrome plating, and by the time the seals are worn out, the whole cylinder is worn out, and you're better off to just scrap it and buy a new one. So where do you go to get parts? Well, a lot of times the best place to go is the dealership, and people seem to have a hard time accepting that. Yes, you're going to pay more. Sometimes you're going to pay a lot more, but it is so convenient. They can look up the parts by application. You have a good chance of getting the right parts the first time. If they get you the wrong parts, they'll take them back. Sometimes the dealership is the only option. I rebuilt the swing motor on that Massey Ferguson backhoe. I've probably gotten 50 emails from people asking me where to get the parts. Go to the dealership. Now, if you don't want to do that, usually you can buy seals from an aftermarket company. I like Baum Hydraulics. They're out of Omaha, Nebraska. They have a pretty good selection. For me, I get shipping next day. They got pretty much everything you could want. O-rings, backup rings, T-seals, cast iron rings, cups, wear bands, U-seals, poly packs, wipers, a small selection of metric seals. It's still kind of difficult to get metric seals in the US. They also have a whole section back here where they sell kits. They've already figured out what parts you need for your application. All you have to do is make sure that your seal design matches the design on this page, and then order the kit. I actually ordered the kits for all these cylinders. I only got burned a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for the most part, it had all the parts I needed. The problem is, for some reason, I just got a new catalog, and they eliminated the kits. They're not listed in here anymore. And I don't know why. I know the part numbers are still good because I literally just used them yesterday to order the parts. So that's kind of a bummer. But like I said, most cylinders built in the last 50 or 60 years are going to use pretty standard components, and they're mostly interchangeable. I'm not going to say that the parts from the dealership are any better than the parts you would get from an aftermarket supplier. They're just more convenient. I guess the trick with ordering parts is that you have to know what the stuff is called and what the critical dimensions are. And it's pretty tricky because there are no two cylinders that are designed the same. Even two cylinders from the same manufacturer on the same machine are not the same. So in this case, we have these V-seals, sometimes called chevron Vs, and they're in a back-to-back arrangement on the loader cylinders. But on the dipper cylinder, same chevron Vs, but they're arranged only in one direction. That's why it was so hard to get apart. And then we also have what's called a square or rectangular piston seal, and it uses an O-ring to spring load it. We've got wear bands. We've got U-cup seals, sometimes called poly packs, and there are rod side, piston side, and universal. We also have wipers. There's lots of different options for those. I know that Baum Hydraulics has a service where you can send your old seals to them, and they will identify them and send you the new parts. And a hydraulic shop can certainly help you find the appropriate parts. The other problem too is that if you buy kits A lot of times you're going to end up with extra parts because the kits are made to be universal to fit several different models. And, don't be alarmed if you end up with a bunch of stuff that doesn't fit anywhere. That's why it's helpful to have the manual that tells you exactly what parts go where. We'll start with the wear band. Pretty good. And then this is the seal. Let's see if I can get it in. Sometimes you gotta have special tools, which I do have. There we go. We don't need them. Now there's a backup ring. The backup ring has kind of a curved side. That goes towards the O-ring, and the backup ring goes on the opposite side of the pressure. So the pressure should push against the O-ring and push the O-ring into the backup ring. And then the O-ring. All the glands are pretty much the same, so it'd be the same process times 3. That slides a little bit easier. Helps when there's not a giant pile of rust under the wear band. There we go. Ooh, that one goes on a little easier. That's not a loaded U-cup seal, so there's no O-ring inside there to pre-tension it. Another kind of odd thing about these cylinders, there's no O-ring between the rod and the piston. Typically there would be. There we go. V-packs go on like so, and there's one in the middle that's different than the others. And this end cap did not come with the seal kit, so I'm going to reuse the old one. Hopefully that won't hurt anything. Use some blue Loctite. So this one is back to back. Okay, now don't freak out that that seal's kind of stretched out. Just grab a cup of coffee or something, take a break, and when we come back, it will have shrunk itself back to its original diameter. You're supposed to hook that thing up. I just can't get it long enough. Oh, I think that's it. Oh. Okay. Done. Supposedly this thing holds 30 gallons of hydraulic oil, 120 liters. But apparently you can only change about half of it. That looks mostly like oil. Well, luckily it's not anywhere near full, which is not surprising based on the amount of oil this thing was leaking out. Alright, we'll go to the other side. Oh. Doesn't look too bad, really. That is straight water. Anybody thirsty? That was a lot of water. At least 2 gallons of water. The transmission only holds 5 gallons of oil. I don't know how it got in there. There's really only 2 possible options. It could run down the boot on the shifter, but that doesn't seem very likely because this machine has a cab. The only other option I can think of is condensation, and that is a common problem with, especially with transmissions, because they have a lot of thermal mass and they don't make a lot of heat when they're in use, so they never make the water evaporate out of the oil like it would in an engine. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or insights on that. Leave me a comment. That seems like a problem, having 50% water content in your transmission. Probably not good for it. I made a critical error. There was a big pile of oil dry under the machine, and I swept it up. I should not have done that, because now we can see, looks like hydraulic oil from the front. That's got to be coming from the hydraulic pump. And that looks like fuel, which appears to be coming from the petrified fuel supply line. Good thing I just put 17 gallons of hydraulic oil in the reservoir. It's all going to have to come back out to fix that pump. That line comes right out of the bottom of the tank. So there's probably a 0% chance we can do this without spilling fuel all over the floor. Alright, here's what I'm thinking. Take the new hose, preemptively pinch it off, and then we do kind of a hot swap here. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Guess we're not done yet, are we? Cover about there. We got a slight mismatch in hose size. Pretty sure it's supposed to be 5/16 on that end. Well, I've got a proper 3/8 hose barb. Might as well swap that out. Might save us a leak later. Okay, well, that wasn't too bad. I wish the hydraulic pump was that easy. I don't have the right fuel filter, or I would swap that out while we're here. I had this delusion that I could finish the backhoe in a single video, and that is not going to be the case. I need an input shaft seal for the pump and a gasket for the torque converter shuttle. Also, he wants me to see if I can do something about the linkage for the lever that controls the front loader. It's pretty sloppy. So yeah, we'll take care of that in part 2. Thanks for watching.